A huge decision on a Mississippi law that could overturn the abortion ruling of Roe versus Wade. Now, the impact could be dramatic in Michigan. There is a 1931 law on the books that makes abortion illegal in the state without exceptions for rape or incest. Now, if Roe versus Wade is overturned, that law would be back into effect. Today, 2 lawsuits were filed challenging the law based on the Michigan Constitution, including a challenge filed by Governor Whitmer directly to the state Supreme Court. Paula Tautman shows us how this fight is shaping up.
A 1-2-3 punch to ensure women have a right to choose what's best for their reproductive health, their families, their economics, as Governor Whitmer launches a suit to protect what she calls a woman's right to abortion health.
2.2 million women will be impacted by this. Those are women who are of reproductive age. The biggest economic decision a woman will make in her lifetime is whether and when to have a child.
Genevieve Marnan, the legislative director for Right to Life Michigan, indicates that RTL will fight tooth and nail, riding the wave of the sea change in the nation, with Republican legislatures rolling back abortion protections and the current makeup of the Supreme Court to get abortions banned, including the instance of pregnancy that occurs as a result of rape and incest.
I cannot even imagine the trauma that a woman experiences going through a rape. But if they focused as much attention on trying to stop rape as they did about trying to kill the rape-conceived baby, I think we would solve a lot of problems.
Attorney Rebecca Kiesling, independent of Right to Life, will file a motion to intervene in both lawsuits as someone conceived because her mother was raped. She was born 3.5 years before Roe v. Wade was decided.
My birth mother was abducted at knife point by a serial rapist in Livonia. She went to 2 illegal abortions and backed out because she was afraid for her own safety and because of the 1931 law, which protected me. She was really happy to meet me when I was 18. When I was 19, I met her in person. And she told me that if abortion had been legal, she would have aborted me.
Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy joins 6 other powerful prosecutors who say they will not prosecute women or abortion care providers. Today, she was incensed by the idea that a woman should be made to ignore the trauma of rape. In 2009, Prosecutor Worthy discovered more than 11,000 unprocessed rape kits, and she and a team of people have raised money to not only process those kits, but get rapists off the streets.
To force these women, when I've looked in their eyes and been a rape victim myself, to be able to be forced to keep these children is just beyond me. That's way beyond the pale.
Now, Attorney General Dana Nessel also says she will not prosecute women who seek abortions or care providers. Prosecutor Worthy says the same, as well as the other 6 who are joining in to say, hey, listen, we need to make sure that we keep these constitutional rights in place. However, RTL says they will continue to fight. Coming up at 5, we will also talk about the whole idea of adoption. And in fact, Prosecutor Worthy talks about adoption. She has 3 adopted daughters. Her views on adoption versus the constitutional right for a woman to choose. Karen, lots to unpack here.